James worked until he turned 70 years old and retired with $1 million saved. He's invested one way for the past 25 years, and he has no plans of changing his approach. Good idea or no? Stay tuned for his red, yellow, or green light assessment coming up next. Welcome to Rise in Retirement,
where it is our goal to help you optimize and simplify your financial plan.
I'm Jet.
And I'm Taco.
We are financial advisors at W.A. Smith Financial, a firm trusted by thousands of people across the U.S. to focus more on your life, worry less about your money. That's why we do these case examples.
Doesn't that sound nice?
One day.
Focus on
your life. There too, yeah.
Hey, today's example features James, 70-year-old, who finally hung it up and decided to retire. He's got $1 million saved, and he has made zero changes throughout the course of his working days. His investment allocation has been the same for the last 25 plus years. It's set it and forget it.
Yep.
Should he rethink that now that he's into retirement? That's the discussion.
James is the tried and true example of the buy and hold investor. It's worked for him. And we're going to get into why it's worked for him and why it might not work for him moving forward now that he is retired. And, you know, he's a little stubborn in that fact. And we see this a lot. It's one of those things that you got to be really careful. So we're going to get into his scenario here in just a second. But be sure to like, share, subscribe to the channel, turn that bell notification on so that you get alerted of all of our new content on a weekly basis. And head over to riseinretirement.com. There's a link in the description below. We'll tell you more about what's there in just a few moments. So, James.
Yep, 70 years old, worked, because he liked what he was doing. Not a highly compensated individual throughout the course of his career, but liked the work. It kept him busy. And he finally hit that point, though, where he was ready to quit and be done. $1 million saved up. He's a widow. No plans on remarrying. He's got 2 kids, 5 grandchildren that he cares about, but they're very successful. The kids are doing really well. So, leaving money behind at this stage, not a big concern of his. But he's really not been relying on anything for, financial advice. He's just been stubborn with, these are the mutual funds that have worked for me, and I'm going to just continue to ride this until I'm done, and,
yeah.
He's got 100% of his funds invested into really just large cap blue chip stocks. And he's had that buy and hold mentality, handful of trades over the course of the last 25 years. But he's ridden the ups and downs of every market cycle, knowing that he was going to continue to work as long as he did.
Yeah, I mean, he amassed $1 million. He didn't contribute a whole heck of a lot over the years. He did what he could. But largely the little that he did contribute to his investments, he held firm to his allocation and he had it invested aggressively. And over time, it worked really well for him. He amassed $1 million portfolio mainly through growth, very minimally through contribution. And so James is the type of guy, he's very happy with what he was able to accomplish. He views $1 million as a lot of money. And it is a lot of money, but things have changed a little bit with the preconceived notion of what $1 million does for you today. And for him, he can't fathom why he would change his strategy. So, good financial advisor might challenge him on this scenario. And that's kind of what we're going to do here today is we think for James to increase his chances at success, he needs to change the way he approaches this now that he is finally retired. And the main reason for that is probably income related.
Yeah. And I think what you said there is key is that it's time to make changes because he's retired. Honest, being disciplined to what he's done and riding the, ups and downs has paid off.
Absolutely.
And so I don't want anyone to take this wrong and say, well, gosh, that this guy made a bunch of money and he took advantage of the markets going up. I'm not saying that. He's made a good decision to do what he's done to get here, but keeping that stubbornness now that, hey, it worked up until here, it's going to work, all the way through.
Yeah.
Timing comes into this now. And so when we look at James, he needs 10 grand per month, to live comfortably at this point. Social Security, now that he's age 70, is kicking out $3,200 per month. Like I said, it wasn't a highly compensated individual, never plugged too much money away. It's just what he did plug away has had significant gains. So he's going to need about $6,800 per month, net of taxes, which equates to about $81,000, a little over $81,000 per year, Jet.
Okay.
On his $1 million portfolio. So we're talking an 8% withdrawal rate. But he is age 70. So we're not talking about a 55 or a 60-year-old here with an 8% withdrawal rate. He's 70. He's a widow.
Yep.
Legacy concerns not huge to him. But we've talked about this before, and we talk about this with a lot of clients. There's 3 financial phases of life. Financial life, if you will.
Sure.
And phase 1 is that accumulation phase where it's growth at all costs. It's doing exactly what James did.
Yeah, he did a good job in that phase.
You have a paycheck coming in. You just, put what you can into savings and let it grow. And don't mess with it. Don't get in your own way. Don't let anybody else get in your own way.
Don't let the market, wig you out either.
So it's growth at all costs, right? And it's save, 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 save. Then you get into, call it generally about 5 years, maybe even 10 years before retirement. We call it our distribution phase. You now have to start thinking about, how are these dollars that I've amassed going to get me through the rest of my life? So it's focusing a little more on income now versus just only that growth mentality. And then phase 3 is at the end. It's distribution, or it's distribution,
end of life,
end of life, right? And it's making sure that your assets are doing what you want them to do. The I's are dotted, the T's are crossed.
Well, here's what we know. We know that when you mentioned it earlier, he's got kids and grandkids, but they're doing well. So that phase isn't all that important. James would be the type of guy who'd say, if there's something left over, I'd love for them to have it, but I don't need to worry about that much. So because of that, you've got an 8% withdrawal rate. He's a widow, so it's just him, and he's aggressive. He knows, at least in that accumulation phase for the past 25, 30 years, he's been able to stay disciplined. He's had his money in the market all those years, just ridden ups and downs.
Yep.
There's been times where he's had heartburn, but he hasn't made changes or gotten in his own way. And I think it's the wrong assumption for a guy like James, who's never been in retirement, where all the rules flip on you.
Right.
Meaning he was adding money, now he's subtracting money through withdrawal. He's never had to do that before. And so he's going to take 8% from his portfolio. And James is even okay with the fact that I might not make 8% every year, and I'm going to deplete this a little bit, but I'm okay with that because legacy isn't that important.
Yeah.
So I guess my question for you is, what would we challenge James on as far as what he could be doing differently, or how he could be thinking about this differently? What would make this scenario a little bit more controlled, a little better potentially for him?
Yeah. I think the reason for change, why it's needed now, is that, I hate to say this, but time's not on James' side at this point, right? He's on the back end. And even at 65, if he knew he was working till age 70, he had time on his money. He could ride that market cycle down and know that, hey, I got time, it's going to come back. Plus I have a paycheck coming in.
Yep.
What changes now is he's like you said, he's subtracting money off. We said he's invested pretty much all in large cap stocks.
And doesn't want to make a change there.
Well, what happens to large cap stocks in a down market? And I hate bringing up like an 08, 09, but we could talk there. We could talk
2020, 2022.
So that's what could hurt him now, is that, hey, I'm taking 8%. And what if your portfolio also then loses 15, 20, 25%? What does that withdrawal rate look like now?
Yeah.
It's very significant.
Well, what it does is in a normal scenario without withdrawals, you can stomach the length of time it takes for the market to recoup losses that occurred on paper. The time extends big time now because not only did the market take a chunk out of your nest egg, but you are also taking a withdrawal. So that time goes beyond what it used to, and you don't have a paycheck coming in. You don't have a means to add money to this.
Right.
And in a situation like James, he probably doesn't want to change his lifestyle. So he's looking at it and going, wow, I have this now. I used to have this, but I still need paychecks here.
Yeah.
I can't turn this paycheck off. I can't tighten my belt up and let this thing blow over, because how am I going to live the life that I chose to live here in retirement? Yeah. So you got sequence of return risk that could really affect him. Those withdrawal rates balloon in those scenarios. There's a snowball effect that can happen. He's always dealt really well with emotion and psychology. I challenge James in this scenario to be able to do that now,
right,
where it matters, where you don't have the time, because we see time and time again, people who had discipline, that discipline wanes when you have a scenario like this where it can affect you long term.
Well, it could shave every bit of 5 to 10 years away from his retirement as far as being able to spend confidently at that point. And so, I think the thing that James lacks at the end of the day is an income plan.
Yeah.
That's the change that needs to happen. He can still be, we talk all the time about the different types of income strategies. There's no perfect way to do it, or right or wrong. There's different ways, right? But we have to draw a line somewhere down the middle of his money and say, what can I set aside into something maybe a little more secure that is going to be income generating for the next, 1 year, 3 year, 5 year. Have a plan in place that truly separates your money, so you know where your income's coming from. Everything else can stay in those large cap stocks and be a little more on the aggressive side of things, be opportunistic. But you must know, as you're reaching retirement or you're in retirement, where is income coming from? And it can't just be a crapshoot that, hey, we're going to sell out of these stocks when I need it, because you don't want to be selling when the market's at the bottom to take distributions.
Yeah. Coming up in just a second, we're going to give our red, yellow, green light assessment. Before we do that, there's a link in the description below on this video to riseinretirement.com. So head over to riseinretirement.com. Have some awesome guides that are complimentary that you can request that will educate you on various topics related to financial planning and investing. What we really want you to do is join Ascend 360 Insider. So this is a community of people just like you who want to gain knowledge so they can make empowered decisions, informed decisions regarding stuff like what we talk about here in these case examples. You get a video every Thursday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, delivered straight to your email inbox from our CEO and founder, chock full of awesome information. And if you're ready for more than that, if you want to look at your scenario, they can request a tune-up.
Yeah, it's totally free. It's complimentary. If you want to look at your situation with an advisor on our team on what do you look like today, how could we potentially begin to attack your situation, build that income plan that you may be lacking, and just maybe understand your situation a little better. Take advantage of that retirement tune-up financial review. All of that information is right there for you on riseinretirement.com.
Remember, we meet with people all over the U.S., virtual appointment. If you're close to one of our offices, you can pop in and see us in person. So, what color are you giving him? What light is he?
It's a bright yellow. I think
teetering towards green. You mean?
I think it is. Yeah. I think
higher withdrawal rate. I think we're still looking that way.
Correct. I mean, the fact that he's age 70, and again, time's not on his side, right? He's in the latter half of his years here. I think the withdrawal rate can be sustainable if he gets a plan in place that handles that. So, key takeaway for me is, number one, he should have started a little earlier.
Yeah.
He should have looked at this planning prior to just getting to age 70. But what he lacks is that income plan. Get an income plan that tells you where to take income from, how you're going to get it, and I think he would be just fine.
My takeaway is you gave him a bright yellow light. I think James is the type of guy who, when he sees the light turn to yellow, he speeds through it before it turns red. And I want James to slow down and stop at a yellow light moving forward and think a little bit about what could happen if he speeds through that yellow light and someone else in the intersection doesn't stop in time. So
I got one more takeaway,
Yeah.
and this is just more of a quote than anything.
Okay.
Is what gets you here may not always get you where you want to go.
Yeah, well said.
And this is a perfect example of
Yep.
it. You know, what got him to $1 million may not be the right method to get him through the next 20 years of his life.
Yep. Try not to be so stubborn. If it worked now, it might not work then. You might want to think about making some changes at a minimum. Get a second opinion, get a retirement tune-up from us, get a consultation from somebody. We're out of time for today. Before we adjourn here, make sure to like, share, subscribe. Drop your comments below. Drop your scenario below. If you like this video, tell us what you like about it. And if you're ready for that tune-up, head over to riseandretirement.com, request your consultation, and we'd be happy to sit down with you.
That's it for today, Jet. Thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Rise in Retirement.